So this morning, and very shortly, we're going off to do the Hard Times mine tour, and they don't let us take any photos in there, so we might take a few pickies outside.
Oh, okay.
And
click, click.
yeah, click, click, click. I'm gonna take the camera in my pocket and see what we can get.
Well, there'll be a sum on.
This is the Mount Isa Information Centre. We're just waiting for our mine tour.
There's my sister's name.
Look at these cute mini miner.
So where are you from?
Port Macquarie,
Oh yeah.
flood capital of the world.
What?
Flood capital of the world.
Where are you from?
Same place.
Might be optional, mate.
Sorry?
Might be optional.
You on the tour? You on the tour? Yep. So where are you from? Whereabouts? Oh yeah. Been fishing there? Well, we're fishing there, exactly. They have to feel like to follow me. There's an iron.
Where those lockers go, mate?
Inside there to the right. You should find a lock with the stairs. So how long are you in Australia for?
1 month.
1 month. Is that all?
Yes.
Oh. So where do you live in Thailand?
Yes, sir. Back home.
Bangkok. I'll see you next year.
Ready?
Yeah, you'll drop in and have a beer.
We'll take you on the tour.
What do you know?
I've got to make it small.
Is that one you know?
Second from the end. Any girls, Mary?
Years back when we first started service, there's a lady leaning against the wall here, bending over with his boot on. A biggish lady, if you know what I mean. Old mate's come out of the bathroom, he's walking through the crowd, and he walked up to her. He's going, geez, that's not getting smaller, darling. He went pat on the bottom. Well, the second lady spotted his wife in the door. He doesn't know this one from a bar of soap. She's come up like a full spring, boing. She glared at him, the wife's glaring at him. All the women are glaring at him. Sort of, it was a quiet moment. I just started laughing. I thought, well, what else can you do? But I felt a bit sorry for the bloke. What an absolute, what moron does that even for his wife? Deep around about there. Now, if all those horizontal mortar lines in the brickwork represent the levels, and there's about 35, 36 levels at the moment. In between those main levels, they also have what are called sub-levels. That's where the miners, the drillers, the loaders work and everything else. So, if you, and those vertical lines, they would represent these holes here. This hole here is made by a raised borer, and we'll show you on the way around how it was done for many, many years before the advent of raised borers. You saw the picture of the shaft sinkers in there and the big picture. Probably that and rise mining, the most extreme form of mining that you can get. And I'll give you, show you as we go around the mine how rise mining is done. These holes are used for a lot of reasons. They pin ladderways to them, use them as skate routes, pin air, water drain lines, electric cables to them and run them from one level to the next. They can use them as small internal air shafts because ventilation is a massive problem underground, which I'll explain on the way around.
So these are obviously vertical.
Yeah, these are vertical. The rise miners, when they were mining, they put them on about the angle of my arm there, I'm not too sure. These can be on a bit of an angle, but I'll show you the reamer as we're going through. So, as I say, the one end of the mine, the ore body is about 2.5, 3 kilometres long. I think about 4 or 5 kilometres wide, and it's 4 or 5 kilometres long. Now, since the mine started, the drives underground, that's what we call the tunnels, there's been about 1,300 kilometres of drive being put in. So, if you can imagine that end to end, you'll probably drive back from here and back to the side. Yeah. That's how much has been there.
Wow.
And since the mine started, there's been over 650 kilometres of rail put in underground. Now the crushers are on 20 secondary level, and so because the mine is now below 20 secondary, it's down to 35, 36 level, there's no more rail haulage under there. It's all brought up by trucks to the crushers, tipped into the crushers, and it's taken to the surface in what we call skips. They hold about 10 tonne. They go up and down that shaft all day, bring the oil 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. At George Fisher, where I fished, I did 34.5 years here. Did my last 10 years at George Fisher. We truck everything to the top. We don't have a haulage system here. So, well, we do have a haulage system, but it's not as big as this one here. So, a lot of the ore is trucked to the surface. I'll show you a couple of trucks on the way through. Okay, man. More work here. Put the radio down.
I'll talk.
Now, first Tyler. Over here making me offside of the system. Grab 2 of these at a time, just put them off very gently like that, and hand them out to everybody. Every morning, pass it around so everybody gets to feel it. Every morning, afternoon or night shift, and bit of weight there, isn't it? So that silver container on the chrome container on the belt, what we call a self-rescuer.
Is that like a battery for the torch on your head?
Sorry?
Was that sort of like a battery for the torch on your head?
No, that black battery is it's for a torch.
Oh.
Now these here, this is the same, does the same thing, it's a different model. So in case of a fire underground, you're caught in smoke, you take that off, put that on, and then you pull a little lever, and the chemicals in there will provide oxygen for 40 minutes at walking pace. If you're caught without one of those on your belt underground, you're brought to the surface and sacked. Now, I've only actually ever heard of one of these saving somebody in Australia. There may be more, I don't know, but the one I heard of, he spent the next week or so in intensive care. The longer you've got them on, the hotter they get. And he ended up with blisters from his lips down through his throat and esophagus and all that sort of stuff. At least it saved the bloke, yeah.
Huge. Huge.
No. And here we family.
You're good for one way, eh?
Well, we'll get there, I hope. not, we can curse the electrician on you. Why are you late?
Yeah, we're going to apprentice, mate. We're
It's gonna be loud. Only one.
Almost 3/4 hour drive down there. Now, when you get into here, there's what they call the cross cuts. This is where we go mining. We know where the ore body is these days because they use diamond drills, core drills, etc., etc. They drill down every 6 meters. They've got hollow rods at the start. They pull the rods out, tap them out into trays. The geologist comes along and checks the core samples. The mining engineers, the metallurgists. If it's a good grade here in this hole here, let's put a hole over there a couple 100 meters, 100 meters over that way. That's how they map out where the ore body is. So these days, when we mine, we don't mine willy-nilly. We're given survey marks by the surveyors, so we know when we're mining whether to go up, down, left, right, or whatever. So when we get into here, we go to the miners phase first. It's been charged up. I'll show you the machine. And when you get into these areas, it's extremely hot underground. It gets stinking hot. People think it gets cooler because wine cellars, a few meters down, it doesn't cool. Caves, it doesn't work that way underground. The ground temperature, the rock temperature can reach certainly extensive readings. So we'd hang up an air mover. It turns the air on, that blade will spin around, blows the air in through the vent bag. They're good for about 40 or 50 meters. It blows air onto the miners. After that, they're not really worth 2 bob, there's not enough pressure. So these days they take down the screamers, put electric fan up, and I'll show you on the way around. 95% of the stuff I tell you about, you'll eventually get to see. Bigger, they look like big jet engines, they sound like jet engines. Big diameter vent bag, they're good for a couple 100 meters.
Yeah,
When they're no longer effective, what they'll do is they'll put a raised bore hole into the next level above or below, and put a big fan like the one I'm going to show you to either suck air up to us or push air down to us. There you go. How you going with that, Ross? So far? Somebody called up? No. You didn't have it switched on. I can't believe that. It's not switched on.
Saving the battery.
Yeah. Come here, you put this, hold the hose. Where's the camera, Mum and Dad? Step back for it. Don't fall because it's not an easy job. Mine look like it's...
Hard work.
Yeah, that's just, just start laughing, that's a shot.
That's what's going to
Put your light up. Your light. Yeah.
You've got three males in Big Bear. They're all in the one place at the one time. That's what I'm saying.
And you come up here and take us photo. It's best that we take the photos from there, if you want them.
Yeah.
And what we do now, I'll just explain. These are the machines and air leaks. Don't smile, it's a hard job.
Okay.
Now if you can go up with me and come, that's done. You've got your camera?
Anyone want?
Looks like it's hard work, eh?
That's a shot, a bit of vibration. Now, you come to the job, you all chit chat, talking about the football, all that sort of stuff. That's of course you're a Broncos supporter. So, there'll be two machines. Once you got here, that was the end of the chit chat. Hook the machines up, the air, the legs, everything else, and you start boring. So, if you were on the left side of the face, that's where you went every time. You got used to what you were doing on the job. You don't have to ask each other what we needed, and this and that. We knew what we were doing. So, you bore the face out, and then up you go. Oh, just step back one
Oh,
second.
that goes in.
And so, what we do next is what I just showed you the miner's face. So what we do here is we give you a short demonstration on the machine. It took me 2 weeks to learn how to pronounce that, but apparently it has no cancer-bearing substance in it. For years we just used to use it all we could. And you have to be very careful of dehydration. Now, these days we give them electrolyte powders so that you put our own water bottles for hygiene reasons. I think they're about 8 litres, 6 to 8 litres. You put a couple of sachets of powder in, electrolyte, and you're good as gold. For the first 10, 15 years of my mining in town there, they used to give us salt tablets. So I'd take 3 salt tablets in the morning, and a cup of tea, 3 at krypton, and 2 before I went home to avoid cramps. After about 10 or 15 years, I said, oh, don't take any more, they're so good for you, which is a bit. But that's your kidneys, I think, too much salt. I think it's your kidneys. Yeah, but these days they're very aware of working in heat. Now you can be on that face there, that could be over 46, 47 degrees, humidity over 90. And some areas of the mine where I worked in, I stressed some areas, the water coming out of the camp tube was quite hot. Wouldn't scald you, but it was quite hot and comfortable and very acidic. So you tried to wear the raincoat to keep it off there. The ground temperature is 72 degrees at times. So you work in there for 20 minutes, out for 20 minutes, in 20 minutes, out for 20 minutes. So you have to be very wary of that working.
See each hole, how long will it take to drill each hole?
These holes here, because this is what we call I think salacious shale here, this isn't hard rock. We needed to go down another 15 or 20 metres to get hard rock. I could bore a 5-foot hole there in probably a minute. Okay. But in the big mine, I could be 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, depending on the ground, the proper length, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Now, this is manufactured by Gardner Denver. These came in the early mid-60s, and now while up there, those red levers, you just pull the levers there, I'll make some drilling noises please, just for the sound effects.
Drilling noises.
Drilling noises.
Come on, louder than that.
May I hear a word out of you there, please? I don't know what that noise is, but it sounded like neighbours a few months ago. 60s. A friend of my late father, already 60, he'll be well in his 80s now. He was one of the original operators on these jumbos. So when you moved up from handheld mining, this is what you moved to. So with 3 booms, it's air hydraulic and a big diesel motor behind the kids. You drove into the job, put the jacks down, the canopy up, and you put the booms out to where you're pouring. And most of what I'm telling you, by the way, about all these things is condensed. So Kevin is the operator on this. He's got to keep these 3 booms going at the same time, mate, but otherwise you're not making money. So you, Karen, wasn't it?
Tracey.
Tracy. So Tracy's the offsider for Kevin, and she's replacing the bits when they get blunt, the rods when they get broke, fixing the hoses, Tracy, all the that's work.
Oh, thanks.
But just getting the same money,
Oh,
like on the same contract.
That's all right.
Pumping the water away, getting explosives ready for when they fire. So during the time, there's no recognised sort of training program like handout mining. So Kevin, when he was boring all during the day, you caught up with your work, he'd call you up, give you one of these booms to practice on. Now after 2 or 3 months, you've got quite a few hours up, or accumulated hours, you've become proficient, efficient, whatever the word is, where now when he goes on holidays, you can move up there and Mia moves into your spot for a while. And that's how you worked your way up with jumbo mining.
That was a bit loud.
It's, you got a few of them around the mines, is a thump, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. So is Mia. I'm just going to take it back down there. Drive it.
Okay, I got it.
Oh,
Now,
When we get back now.
what this is another, you will see some of these boats around, but not very many at all. Not very many at all. Now, the mines just sent this back to us. They took it, and we're very fortunate, man. I was the mines reconditioned and put new tyres on for us. I don't know why I put new tyres on, because I'm only going to go backwards and forwards. People ask why do you sit on the side? Because this is, we don't have the drives this smooth underground, so it's quite bumpy and bumpy. So this is what we call the tram. The distance we're bringing it, you might be doing 200, 300, 400 metres, half a kilometre. So you imagine trying to bounce up and down, reversing like that. About a week before your neck or your back's actually out. So it takes a little while to get used to it, but you do learn to just look like that. Up you get, just watch your head on the way in. Don't bump start.
Don't pump start.
If you do, don't knock forward. So go get your photo taken there if you like.
Oh, this.
Turn around so they can see.
It's just what amazes me is the explosions, why everything just doesn't come down.
Boom. Yeah. Because it's,
The
yeah.
whole thing doesn't run.
It's just quite amazing.
So this is the Hard Times Mine tour.
Yep.
And this is the crib room. And we're having tea. You having coffee or tea? Coffee. Coffee with Bruce.
Yeah, sugar, 1 lump or 2.
1 lump or 2. And they're going to give us some pasties in a minute.
Pasties? Pasties?
And this is a core of lead ore. And it weighs heavy. Pick it up, Bruce.
It's not for the right. It's a good weight.
It's heavy.
Well done, good man. The man's going to help you. That boots, on what occasion? Where else is sitting? There's a big bloke sitting there, late 20s I suppose. He's one of these steelwood junkies. He's got the big arms. Now he's pulled the overalls down because he reckons he's hot. Orange so we can gaze on him. The big magnificent arms. Here, he's sitting here. His girlfriend's sitting here and she's just sort of facing him. he got that piece of copper that I passed around, and he's gone, yeah, bit of weight that. So we can all see the arms going down. Next thing, he said, feel that, so he tossed it to her. She's put her hand in, obviously thinking it can't be that heavy. It's gone straight to her hands onto her boot. Now it's called the steel cap, fortunately, because otherwise if that had been same shoes on the outside of the foot, you would broken blades. Sometimes I say things without thinking. I turned around and said, mate, over 60 or 70,000 people I brought in here, you have to be the biggest moron than that. He's turned around and said, what did you say? I said, come on, go back, you're the biggest moron than that. I thought he was going to get up, guys. So I've gone around like this and I thought, when he's halfway up, I'm going to put one into it. I can't beat this mate. He's 3 times my size, third of my age. I thought, if I get one into him, stun him, I'll get out of here.
Turn the lights off.
Yeah, one other way out. I'll send somebody else going to bring the two up. But he was sort of gasped. A few people said, what did you do that for, mate? Interesting thing. 5% copper. Goes to refinery where it gets refined at 99.99 whatever percent. That last little percentage that they cannot refine will contain impurities from this mine. Wow. And I believe it's also the same with the gemstones. I'm not positive.
We're at Lake Moondarra. Water supply for Mount Isa, and it's quite pretty. You can go swimming, boating, and yeah, it's quite large. Looks like it's a bit low there. Stand-up paddleboarder. We'll just pan around.
There's way out there as well.
And there's the dam wall. We might have a stroll down there. It's quite large, reasonably large. So we're just walking down to the dam wall. It's the downstream valley. Oh, there's no stream. Now this is a park below the dam wall, so there's play equipment, shelters, picnic tables, and lyrebirds galore. More picnic tables, toilets, huge grassed area, great spot for kids' birthdays. And some of the birds are a bit inquisitive, coming over to see me. Hello? Think I'm going to feed you. Do you? Hmm? So this is the first picnic area up the lake, Moondarra. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but yeah, paddleboarding, great grassed area, lots of picnic areas. Looks like the the birds are annoying people to feed them. Very nice. So it's 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, and we've just been out to the Moondarra lake, and we've come back and we're hot, and it's 36 degrees, so we're going to cool off in the pool.
Oh no.
What?
So this is,
Oh, it's shallow. There it
so
is.
this is what caravan park are we staying in?
I don't know what it's called. G'day.
Is it
Some funny-
Argyle or Argyle or?
Yeah, it's some funny name, not Mount Isa.
No.
It's like a suburb on the eastern edge of Mount Isa.
Yeah.
It's sort of just out of town.
Yeah. But it's got this beautiful pool, which is,
pretty
even
big.
though it's like really hot, like 37 degrees,
The
the
pool's cool.
pool is really cold.
Yeah, so we'll go for a swim.
Yeah.
So this is Mount Isa at dusk. So there's a disabled ramp up here now. There's a lookout from another area, picnic area, to the east. We go over the eastern side of the city. Well, this morning we left Mount Isa. What do you think of Mount Isa, Bruce?
I liked Mount Isa. I think we were there long enough. I mean, it was hot. And, I mean, it's there for the tourists. We did the touristy thing. We saw the mine. I think it's, I think it was disappointing. It possibly wasn't a working mine, but I still really enjoyed it. And maybe you can't go down working mine.
No.
You're not allowed to.
No, a bit of a safety issue.
Yeah. No, it had everything there. Harvey Norman, it had Coles, Woolies, everything. Hospitals.
Other than it was really hot,
It was
melting hot.
Yeah, it was very, very hot. And that dam was incredible.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
beautiful big dam, wasn't it?
I mean, I wish I had my stand up. If I had my stand up, I would have had another day there just got out to the dam, but you couldn't take dogs, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful dam. But that other dam we passed, Corella, I've seen that on Free Camping Australia, and there's camping sites at Corella Dam. And I didn't realise we were so close to it.
Yeah.
It was good, had a nice pool. so we could go and have a swim.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was biggest
Yeah.
pool I've seen.
One we had. Oh yeah, it was nice.
Mighty
Very
cold.
very chilling and refreshing.
So I didn't find it cold.
Didn't you?
No.
No, it was lovely. Good.
So we're heading to Winton today.
To do the dinosaurs.
Dinosaur thing tomorrow.
Is that tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we still don't know where we're staying tonight, do we?
No. We'll find
There's that
something.
free camp. Sorry, it's a $5 camp just outside of Winton, or there's that Pelican Caravan Park, which is reasonably priced too.